So before we dig into the tracks, let's just start with a little conversation about your creative process. So tell us just a little bit about Hide the Sunlight and where this track came from in terms of your process, and maybe talk a little bit about too just the difference between how you approach a track like this versus how you approach producing a track with Thievery Corporation.
Well, Thievery, a lot of it starts in the studio with me and Eric actually picking up instruments, and a lot of times I'll be, playing guitar or keyboard, and Eric will be playing bass, and we just come up with ideas, and eventually something happens. I think my creative method personally is just kind of picking up instruments or just playing around with whatever. And on this song in particular, it started off. I got Ableton Push, and was just kind of playing around with that and just coming up with grooves and things like that and all these different layered textures. And all of a sudden, I just got a groove that I really liked. And, I was thinking about possible vocals. And this guy from Spain called me up named Sutja Gutierrez. There's a track that I DJ of his quite often, and I like his voice, and he's a big fan, so he was like, we should collaborate on a track. And I didn't have him in mind at the time, and then I went back, and I always have different tracks that I'm working on. And I heard this one, and it has this sort of kind of 90s-ish sort of vibe, kind of this old school kind of thing going on. And one of the things about Sutja's voice is it really kind of reminds me a bit like, of that era, a little bit like Depeche Mode in a way or something. And, he's such a talented singer. So, this all happened via the magic of SoundCloud email or whatever. And so then I had this track and just, sent it back and forth. And we got it to a point that, I was really happy with. But, a lot of times the whole creative process just starts from just playing around.
So you started this in Ableton then and produced the whole track in Ableton Live, is that right?
Yeah, the whole thing in Ableton. That's when, we're recording with Thievery, we like to use things like, either Logic or Pro Tools, but for a lot of the solo stuff that I'm doing, I love just staying in Ableton. It just feels very intuitive, and, I can create really quickly.
And so he tracked his vocals from Spain, and you guys worked kind of collaboratively.
Yeah.
In the cloud, so to speak,
Yeah.
right? That's killer.
And
Have you done that a lot in the past, or is that a new thing for you?
A little bit here and there. I mean, we did that even back in the day with Thievery. Like, for instance, we did a track with Perry Farrell, and just because of touring schedules and everything, we couldn't get together in the same studio. So back then, it was like we sent, tapes or CDs via FedEx. And, it'd take like 3 or 4 days to go back and forth and all these kind of things. So we've done it in the past, but it's, so much more convenient and instantaneous now.
Yeah, and you did this also with the lead-off track on this EP called Raymana, right?
Yeah, I was traveling in India, and I have a friend from Bombay Dub Orchestra, and I had this track, and I was like, man, it could be really cool if it had Indian vocalists. So I asked him, and he introduced me to this woman named Vasudha via email and stuff, and we kept just going back and forth, and she just laid down some tracks and some
really
vocals,
cool tracks, yeah.
Amazing, yeah. And I mean, that's really the power of technology, the fact that somebody can be in Mumbai and you're in San Francisco, and
that's cool.
And you can make something really pretty dope. So
yeah, the world's become a smaller place, huh?
Definitely. Yeah.
And you're touring now, and you're DJing your own music and doing DJ sets around the world alongside doing shows with Thievery, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty busy on all fronts. Thievery, we're doing a lot of touring, and we're in the studio making a new record. I mean, going back and forth. We just got finished tracking in Jamaica, in this place called Port Antonio, this recording studio called G-Jam.
Oh, cool. I'm jealous, man.
Yeah. And that was an amazing experience, just to go down there and hang out. And there's really not much to do in Port Antonio. In the morning you go to the beach, and then we just, be in the studio from like 11 a.m. to 1 o'clock in the morning.
oh, it sucks to be Rob.
So is there more of a Rasta vibe than like kind of your old school Thievery stuff? Because you guys went a little more Latin, it feels like, for a minute, and you know there's so much reggae influence in your early stuff.
Yeah, we're really influenced by dub and reggae. Our last record was influenced mainly by our love of bossa nova, Brazilian, and jazz. And this one we kind of want to get back to, you know, the dub roots of our sound. So this will have more of that vibe for sure.
Nice. I know there's two guys in here that'll love that. That's for sure. Dub-wise. So talk a little bit about, because I didn't know this until Greg was talking to me earlier, about the title of this track and how that came about.
So I sent it to Sutja, and he sent back this track, and he sent back the vocals, and they had to do with like drones and airstrikes and things like that. And I'm kind of like, you know, it's a little bit too dark for kind of what I was intending for the song. And he was,
but it is kind of in your politically slanted vibe, your thievery political slant, right?
Yeah, thievery, we're very, very political and socially conscious. You know, so he sent back these lyrics, and it said, "Hide the satellite." You know, and so I worked with him, kind of rearranged all the lyrics, and the way that he sang, originally I thought he was saying "hide the sunlight," and so I just changed the title to "Hide the Sunlight," but he's actually still saying "hide the satellite." I think it's kind of like the power of suggestion.
Totally.
Nobody really catches on. Because I had him sing "hide the sunlight," but I liked it better the way he sang "hide the satellite." It just sounded cool.
Yeah.
With his accent and everything.
Amazing, the power of suggestion.
Yeah.
So now when you listen to the vocal treatments on the remixes, you'll hear it like the track name is "Hide the Sunlight," but if you listen close, I don't know, it's cool like that.
Yeah, it's kind of fun.
Yeah.